So, after months and months and months and possibly even years of waiting, we finally got our first look at some gameplay for Sonic Frontiers, the next mainline Sonic game that's due this holiday season at the Summer Game Fest. And I gotta say, I was kinda underwhelmed. Yeah, I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it. The footage that was shown today didn't really do much for me, which is something I really hoped I wouldn't say. Now, this is not me trying to cast judgment on a game that obviously hasn't come out yet. I have not played the game. We've only seen about 7 minutes, and there's still definitely a lot about the game we don't know, and that we will know in the coming months. But I wanted to mainly make this video to address my thoughts on what we saw. And I know I usually don't make videos like these, so I'm sorry if the editing isn't really that great. I was gonna edit the clips together, but honestly, I just kind of wanted to just get it all out at once, so I'm sorry if some of the clips I show don't relate to what I'm talking about at the moment. But yeah, this video is kind of just gonna be going through my thoughts on what was shown to us. Just the things that really stuck out to me, both in positive and negative ways. And yeah, so I actually stayed up until I was so excited for this game that I actually stayed up until 2 a.m. in the morning after work just so I could watch the reveal live. And I started to question if it was worth doing that because yeah, this didn't yeah, I'm sorry to repeat myself, but I kind of need to get my thoughts out there, kind of address what is it, and kind of address why what we were shown didn't really do much for me, and how I hope to God that in the future everything that. But yeah, I don't want to really postpone this anymore. Let's just get right into it. I'm just gonna talk over this. This is not scripted, but I've pretty much got everything down that I want to say. So just sit back, listen to my ear-grating voice, and just take it all in. Oh, I'm sorry. One more thing that I need to address is that I'm sorry if you hear So throughout the video, you're gonna hear buttons on my keyboard being pressed and probably even my mouse or touchpad being clicked, because I was originally gonna make this sort of a face cam analysis thing where I was gonna sort of scrub through the footage and just show you what I'm talking about in context, but I kind of just wanted to scrap that idea because I've had to record this video a few times now and my setup just isn't really capable of doing what I wanted it to yet. So yeah, I'm sorry if the sound gets annoying to you. You can click off if it gets so if it starts to annoy you, then feel free to click away. But yeah, just so you know, that's what that sound is. So yeah, enjoy if you want, or feel free to leave. Okay, so we start off here. We got the big get our first glimpse at how Sonic is going to control. And yeah, so let's move here. So control wise, it's definitely running off the Hedgehog Engine 2 that we got in Sonic Forces, and I was not a fan of the way that game controlled at all. It felt very stiff, especially when you're at top speed. So, and it looks like Sonic's top speed here, at least when you're not using the boost, it's definitely a lot slower than it was in Forces, which I'm not sure if they did that, if they somehow tweaked the controls at all to make Sonic control more naturally, or if they had to limit his speed cap to make that work. But yeah, I can tell here that it is definitely the same engine that they use for Forces, and like I said, it does look a bit more fluid to control, and there are a few more instances here that I'll show off, because Sonic's turn doesn't look like it has that lock that he gets in Forces when you try to turn. It doesn't look as heavy, but yeah, I can tell it's the Hedgehog Engine 2, and that's not just because of the Forces model either. That actually doesn't bother me, but yeah, you can just sort of tell that that's what they're going for. But yeah, you got the very typical Sonic elements here. You got dash panels, you got springs, you got the trick hoops, and Sonic actually throws a punch here, which is new for him at least. I know he's done that in Sonic Battle, and the Shadow of the Hedgehog game had that, but as far as I can remember, I don't think a mainline Sonic game has done that, so that's gonna be interesting. And also, you can see that he picks up a heart here, which is very interesting, because the health health in Sonic games has always been your ring count, but seeing as how we have a heart here, and we know that this game is going to have a big emphasis on combat, it sort of makes me curious to know, a ring's not going to be health in this game? Well, likely not, because we have these hearts, and seeing as how we have these giant Titan enemies we're fighting, it likely means that we're going to have a health bar this time around, and aided by the fact that Sonic now has combat moves with his punch, it makes it seem very much like that's going to be a big part of the game. So looks like rings are not going to be health, which makes you wonder, what are they for? But he's got the jump animation for forces. He's got the ground stomp. He then runs up this wall, which looks very automated to me, but I'm not quite sure on that because of the scene coming up in a second. We have this is his walk cycle. I don't like the animation on this walk cycle for one main reason, and that's because the speed, like the animation of his walk does not at all match the speed he's moving. Like he can, even though his walking cycle shows him moving faster, he's clearly not going at that speed, and it's gonna be more prevalent in a minute. But yeah, so we have these weird blue coin thingies lying around here, and at first glance they look like Chow on the coin because they've got like this weird teardrop shape with some kind of bulb on the top or whatever they are. That's the best thing I can make out, but they're probably not Chow, but that's what they look like to me. But so this kind of speaks to me that we're gonna get some kind of feature in the game that these coins have to be used for something, of course, because I doubt they're gonna be as prevalent to pick up as rings, as this is the only time we see them in the entire video. So I assume that this might be integrated with some kind of upgrade system, maybe a shop feature that we haven't seen yet. But these coins are clearly meant for something. It's like how it reminds me of the purple coins in Mario Odyssey, how they were used to buy, aesthetic items like, costumes in this shop or whatever. Maybe that's for that. I don't know. Like cosmetic stuff. Rail grinding, which pretty standard for Sonic. Now this part here is pretty interesting because instead of just running up the wall right away, he hits a dash panel, runs for like a second, and then he starts climbing, which is very, very bizarre to me. This is just his climbing is taken just straight from Breath of the Wild here. I don't think anyone's going to argue against that, especially since that game was apparently a big inspiration for the team working on this game. But then he proceeds to start running after. So I have no idea how that's going to work, if there's going to be some kind of run button, because we know that Sonic has a boost in this game, so do you hold the boost button when running up these walls, or is he just holding down the analog stick slightly like he was before, or he's going to do right now? Don't know how that's going to work, but this is what I was talking about earlier when it came to the movement speed and the animation, because, again, I'm assuming he's only lightly holding the analog stick, but Sonic's speed that he's walking clearly does not match the speed he's walking at. Like, he's clearly walking a lot faster here than the animation is showing, but he's clearly like, should be tiptoeing if he's going at that speed, but that's not what's happening. He goes up this ramp. His turn does seem to be a bit more fluid than Force's. It doesn't seem like it has that, cap, like that weird 8-directional tank turning that he had in Force's, so does at least look like they tweaked that. But he does a homing attack, bounce out these balloons, hits a spring, collects some rings, and reaches the top here. Which, by the way, I want to just take this shot very briefly to talk about the presentation. So, graphically, on a technicality, it looks fine. Really, it does. Like, everything is well textured. You can see very far off into the background. It is a very the lighting is nice for the most part. There are weather effects. It is a very pretty looking game. My issue, though, is that it does not really fit the Sonic aesthetic. And I know that Sonic games have always changed up the aesthetic a bit, but they've generally they generally try to stay consistent with sort of a blend between realistic and cartoony, or just go full on cartoony. But this one is trying to go for straight up hyper realistic detail. In my opinion, I think it really clashes because Sonic himself looks the exact same he did in Forces, maybe like a slightly darker shade of blue and a few more polygons, but he looks the same. And it doesn't really work for me because with this kind of art style, you can really only go one way or the other. You can't try to do both. Like, either try to have Sonic look more like realistic, I guess, or more detailed to make him blend in with the realistic environment better, or you make the environments more animated to blend in with the characters better. You can't really do it both ways because then it leads to that art clash that just makes it feel very uncanny. It's kind of like that Pixar movie, The Good Dinosaur, where you had these really cartoony, noodle-lid looking dinosaurs, but they were layered on top of a photorealistic background, and it just made them really stand out, and it just didn't look that appealing. So yeah, I'm very mixed on the graphics is what I'm saying. But yeah, rail grinding. There's a weird bit of animation here where Sonic does his backwards rail grind flip when he's jumping forward, I hope they fix that. The ring animation is also kind of weird too, because like when Sonic picks them up, they like fly away for a second and then come back to him. And we don't see any UI, so they don't fly into any kind of ring counter. And they don't really like just absorb into Sonic either. Like it's all the way back here, even though Sonic has picked it up, it's flying back. So I hope that's something they fix. And we've got the trick ramps and the heart following him. And you can actually see here one of the Titans we saw in that teaser trailer back at the Game Awards and that little gameplay teaser we got yesterday. And I'm not quite sure how these are going to work. They seem like they're going to be boss fights, but this one's already out in the open. And even though it's very subtle, if you look closely, it is moving very slightly. Like you look here, you can see its arm or hand or whatever moving very, very slightly. So I'm wondering how this is going to work. I kind of feel like it feels a lot like Xenoblade to me, where in that game there were some enemies that you can't really fight right away because they're too high in power level, so you have to come back and fight them later. That's kind of what it reminds me of. Like maybe you can't fight it right now because Sonic is too underpowered, but then eventually when you level up enough you can take it on. Because I think this game is meant to have some sort of upgrade system, but this trailer doesn't really show that. But moving on, you know, we got Sonic, he goes on a ramp, he does some platforming. The platforms feel very weird too, because they just kind of feel like they were plopped on without much consideration for their organization. It just feels like, oh, here's a platform, here's a grind rail, here's a dash panel, and I guess that will lead to some puzzles, but, you know, it just feels weird. Especially since you can see all these grind rails floating in the sky back here. I think I can get a better shot, actually. But, yeah, there are grind rails all over the place. Not just in the sky, but also, like, just, everywhere. Like, all over the place. Like, trying to find a better shot of the grind rails. Like, I saw one better, like, around here. Like, what is that? That just feels very jumbled and mishmashy. It just feels like they got some grind rail assets and just put them anywhere. And like, yeah, I know that floating grind rails aren't new to Sonic. You know, you know, they've been a thing since the beginning, or at least like since the 3D era. But I don't know, it just feels weird. I know it's probably going to lead to some platforming challenges, but it just, I don't know, it feels weird. But we're going to get to what's probably my least favorite part of the trailer, and that's while Sonic, like, control-wise does look better than Forces, there is still no momentum. Because you can see here, he runs down this hill, yet he does not pick up any kind of speed whatsoever. And trust me, this is definitely not the only time we're going to see an example of this, but it's definitely the first prominent example of it. He has like he still has a boost, which is I'm actually okay with. There's like a very minor mid-air dash. But he's not going faster, he's staying the exact same speed. And that honestly really kind of irks me now, because I think Sonic the Hedgehog is a franchise that could really benefit from having momentum-based exploration, especially when you have an open-world game like this, where you can take the opportunity to use that momentum to run really fast down hills and soar off the edges of ramps. But they're not doing that. You've got the boost back, which helps you pick up speed, but you end up going the same speed whether you're going up or downhill. And it's kind of disappointing. Like, why the heck would you not take advantage of momentum-based gameplay? The only assumption I can think of is that the Hedgehog Engine 2, which they're clearly using for this, just doesn't support it, or they can't utilize, or they don't know how to properly incorporate it, and it honestly kind of upsets me. Like, maybe, am I the only one who thinks Sonic's top speed is a bit slow? Like, take a look when he's not boosting. Like, is that the fastest he's gonna move when you're not boosting? It just, I don't know. Like, I'm fine with slowing him down, because when you're moving around a big world like this, you need to see where you're going, but I don't know. For me, it feels much slower than it should be. But, you know, he does a quick step here. Bit of a weird moment here, where I think that's an enemy on the bridge, because when Sonic oh shit. Because when Sonic goes up to it, it like activates or something. Like you can see here, it's dormant, and then when he gets close to it, it activates, and then later here when Sonic does a quick step on the left hand side, you can see it flying towards him trying to attack him. But Sonic just ignores it. We don't get to see any combat in this, unfortunately. This is just kind of more or less giving you an idea of how the exploration is going to work. But we actually see another enemy back there, but again, he does not fight it. There's some more rail grinding, pretty standard stuff that we know from Sonic, stuff we've already seen. This set piece is kind of cool, going through the bridge. Now this part I actually do kind of enjoy, because we get to see a little bit of wall running here. And it's not like Sonic Lost World's parkour system where you had to like hold a run button and then latch onto a wall and just you can only stay on there for a short time. It seems like you can just willingly just run onto the wall, and it actually looks pretty fluid too. And he does that a handful of times. There are plenty of steep slants here, that steep slopes that Sonic can just run up, and it looks really, really actually fun to use. I won't lie, this is one of the parts of the trailer I actually did like. And I actually do like the lighting in this shot, I won't lie, even though I complain about the graphics. Oh yeah, one thing I forgot to mention, pop-in is a thing. Yeah, if you look down on the left-hand side here, you can see an enemy just spawn in. And yeah, there's a lot of pop-in in this trailer, some of which I skipped past, but I'll try to acknowledge it when it comes back. This part though is pretty bad though, I'm not gonna lie. What the fuck is with this animation when Sonic is doing tricks? It looks so jittery and so unpolished. Like, look at, like, there's no fluidity. Like, it just feels like Sonic's pose, like it snaps from one to the other. It doesn't feel like he naturally transitions into one move. Like, I don't know what the fuck is up with that. So, fuck. I really hope they fix that. But, you know, Sonic does some more running. You can see some enemies on the side over here. So I assume Sonic can, like, homing attack them to get up that way if he wants. Or you can also, like, run up the wall or use this spring. Which it does seem like they are at least giving you some options on how you can traverse the overworld, which is pretty nice. But speaking of the overworld, though, it feels so barren and empty, though. Like, it's like, yeah, there's some of these weird shrine thingies, but there's no NPCs to talk to. There's no, like, loop-de-loops or corkscrews, half-pipes, or anything that can take advantage of Sonic's speed. It just sort of feels like you plopped him in an Unreal Engine default bland overworld and just stuck Sonic there. I don't know, I really hope they just fill it out with more stuff beyond puzzles and grind rails. But, yeah, we got some weather effects, which I wonder if that's just going to be something that is randomized, like a lot of open world games, or if it's something that's going to be happening in exclusive areas. But, you know, I appreciate it. Sonic does a bit of a puzzle here where he turns this statue to open a door. Pretty kind of standard, honestly boring puzzle-based stuff we've seen in other games. There's some more pop-in here. We see there's a little platform on the top there. We also see these question mark points a few times, and I'm still not sure what exactly they do. I thought maybe they were mission objective markers, like, oh, you go to these places, you do missions, but when Sonic completes them, he ends up gaining these fruits. At least he ends up gaining these weird fruit items, which I have no idea what these do, but yeah, we'll probably find out later. And here is where we see Sonic do that, what's called the spin cycle. I don't know if that's official or it's just what the fans called it, but it's that move he did in the first teaser where he runs in a circle, has that weird cybernetic blue streak behind him, and when you complete a circle, it makes this, like, wind effect, which, as we saw in yesterday's teaser, can also be used in enemy combat, and it's putting out these flames to solve yet another puzzle. So I'm actually kind of interested to see how that's actually going to play into the game. I think that could actually be a really neat and unique way of combat, but we don't really get to see it utilized that much yet outside of this scene. But yeah, there's some more pop-in. You can see the textures loading in on the first frame. But, you know, it's whatever. A lot of games have that. A grind rail just magically spawns into existence. Not even an effect to load it in. It just pops into existence. Yeah, the fruit summons. Yep, I showed you that already. And again, going back to the momentum thingy. Like, look, Sonic runs down this ramp, but he doesn't pick up any speed, and that doesn't count because he boosted. That's a manual thing the player does. And again, running up, he goes the same speed when he's not boosting. Like, why not take advantage of the momentum? It's kind of annoying, honestly. We also see another marker here, which looks to have, like, an item on it. I can't see like in question what it's highlighting or if there is an item there, but it looks like this is going to be for some kind of item placement. Like maybe, I don't know, there's like a chest here you can open and you'll get an item that you can use in another feature outside the main game, but who knows. But yeah, it looks like collectible items are going to be a thing. We get more Sonic running. Actually, speaking of the boost, at first I thought that, yeah, Sonic seems a bit slow, naturally, but I was going to say that I thought at first that you had to tap the boost button repeatedly to use it, because the guy playing this demo doesn't seem like he knows how to use it, because Sonic only does these boosts in short bursts. So at first I thought that you could only use it to, like a few times, but it looks like you can actually hold down the run button to go faster, like run button, dash button. I will admit, even though I did complain about the momentum, this part actually does look kind of fun. You know, like just running down a mountain and super fast. It actually does look fun, but again, but I just think adding momentum would make it even more fun. But we don't have that. But you know, it actually does look kind of fun to navigate here. The control does actually look better than it did in Forces, at least. Sonic doesn't seem to have the tank controls like he did in that game. And even if he did, I do think at least like it would make more sense for an open world game with the wide space you have instead of the enclosed linear spaces of a Sonic level. But yeah, so we just get more Sonic running. There's some more texture pop-ins. We see some birds flying by, which is pretty interesting. And this is what I was talking about here. This is the longest that the boost is used here. He uses it to run up this cliff. He makes a right and a left turn here. So I think you can hold down the boost button and run as long as you want. Or maybe there's a meter or something. Maybe that's what the rings are for, to fucking fill up a boost meter that we just don't see here. But there's another puzzle here. We see another one of those titans in the background here. And I'm gonna be honest, I really fucking hate these kinds of puzzles in games. It's like, why? They're just really basic, really easy. And I just don't really think they fit Sonic well. Like, why are you making me slow down to push some floor panels? Like, why not have me trying to make long jumps over gaps or, I don't know, do grinding tricks or something? Why am I pushing floor tiles? It just... Rise of Lyric had that, and it did not work in there either. Anyways, yeah, it spawns another fruit. Again, no idea what it's for. You know, we have some rings, we have some dash panels. I don't really know why we need those dash panels there. It kind of annoys me how they just give you speed. Like, you telling me we couldn't just jump up there to get to that hamster wheel, or we couldn't just run around ourselves? Why do we need the dash panels to take us there? It's kind of annoying, but yeah. Another question mark. I want to also just briefly say about the overworld that it's definitely got a lot of inspiration from, obviously, Breath of the Wild, but it also reminds me a lot of Xenoblade and Nier, especially. You know, the aesthetic just generally reminds me a lot of those kind of games with the nature aesthetic and the more kind of, like, it reminds me a lot of Xenoblade with the weird blend of nature and these really highly technologically advanced elements like this hamster wheel or the Titans, which remind me of enemies from Xenoblades. And we also have these little guys here. I don't know what they are. They don't look like Chao. They look like something between Princess Mononoke and a Chao. But yeah, that's basically all I have to say about the gameplay part of it. But yeah, that was the Sonic Frontiers gameplay, and honestly, it kind of left me feeling a bit underwhelmed. And I think it's just because, like, Sonic games, at least the main series ones, have been taking longer and longer to make. Like, there was a 4-year gap between Lost World and Forces. Now there's a 5-year gap between Frontiers and Forces, and it feels like that. And considering that Sega have apparently said in the past that they're trying to really make great quality games, and they're like, we're trying to listen to feedback and we're trying to make our games the best they can be, and then this is what they show off, it feels very unsatisfying when you see the end product, because look, obviously the game's not out yet. It's not due to come out till probably around November, December, because that's usually when mainline Sonic games come out, but I don't really know. Like, look, using the Forces model doesn't bother me that much, and even like the unfinished animations and the pop-in don't really bother me that much, because that's stuff that can be fixed before the game comes out, but it's just like, you know, the lack of speed when you're not boosting, or like the kind of bland levels and like the pretty empty lifeless overworld, like, it doesn't feel like it's really taking advantage of what you can do with Sonic in an open world scenario. It doesn't feel like they're making this game because they had a really great idea for an open world Sonic game. It feels like they're making it because open world games are a big thing right now, and attaching Sonic onto one will help the game sell better and maybe do better critically, but that's not true at all. It doesn't matter if the game is linear, it doesn't matter if it's open world, as long as the game is fun and it controls well, I don't give a shit. I think the idea of an open world Sonic game actually sounds like it could be a lot of fun, like a big giant open world you can explore that takes advantage of Sonic's speed, like, you know, loop-de-loops and corkscrews and half-pipes. None of that is here. It's all just very bland-looking grass and mountains terrains, which we've seen in these kinds of games. And yeah, I know Breath of the Wild was a big inspiration for the developers apparently, but I also saw influence with like Horizon and Xenoblade and even a little bit of Elden Ring in there, and it's just, even though I doubt that last one was inspiration, but still, it's like, and even like the graphics, while on a technicality they look nice, it doesn't really fit the style of the game well. It feels very much like, you know, we've got these realistic looking textures, but then you throw Sonic on top of it and it just looks weird. It's like that Pixar movie, The Good Dinosaur. You know, the one where you had these hyper-real backgrounds that looked near to real life, but then you put these colorful, cartoony dinosaurs on it and it just didn't clash well and it felt wrong? That's what this looks like to me. Like, make an open world Sonic game, I'm down for that, but try to take advantage of Sonic's abilities and what would make him fun to play in an open world. Again, the lack of momentum we see in this really irks me, because momentum is something that would really work for an open world game fitted to Sonic. Like, could you imagine if, you know, you were running down a hill and then you call into a ball and you go faster and faster, and then when you get to the bottom of a hill and there's a ramp at the end, you jump off and go flying and you can see the overworld for miles and miles? That doesn't look like that's what we're getting here. A lot of the jumps have ramps at the end, like, that are automated, so it doesn't really matter that much. They have the boost back, which I wouldn't really be that bothered by, but it seems like it's the only way to pick up any kind of speed. You know, Sonic, he's going the same speed whether he's running down a hill or up a hill, and I don't know, it bothers me. It just, considering that we've waited just over a year to see anything of this game, and waited roughly 7 months to see any kind of gameplay, and this is what they have to show off, it's not gonna lie, it's kind of disappointing. And I've been really rooting for Sonic Team to, you know, to play their cards and make a quality product, because I know that they can. They've done it before. They've done it before. And yeah, I know different people go to work on these games as the years go by, but they've made plenty of good, Sonic Team have made plenty of good games in the past. Of course, the adventure games, you know, Sonic Colors, Sonic Generations, they can do it, but for some reason, it just kind of feels like they're not putting as much effort into it now, which sucks, especially since Sega have promised they're trying to make higher quality games than before. But this doesn't really show that to me. And to be fair, maybe in a couple of weeks my words may not mean much, or my opinion may completely change, because I know throughout the month they're gonna show off more. Like, they'll probably explain what those blue coins are for, or what the fruits are for, and I assume there's probably some other game modes just outside the campaign, but just based on first impression, it hasn't really done much to impress me, and I'm kind of disappointed, I'm not gonna lie. But hopefully, you know, they can step up their game and really deliver a quality product to us, because Sonic needs it right now. Like, yeah, the movie did really well, the IDW comics are great, Sonic Prime looks really promising, but Sonic is still primarily a video game character. Most people know him as a video game character. And the fact that we have this new Sonic game coming out that could just be underwhelming, I don't know, it just feels like it's going to be another stain on the Sonic franchise. And I'm a very optimistic person. I like to see the bright side of things all the time. And there are things that I did like in that video. You know, like I said, I think the wall running looks really fun. Sonic control-wise looks like it is much more fluid than Forces. But I don't know, until I play the game for myself, or I at least see a more in-depth look at the combat system, or like how the game is going to feel, or the extra modes, or the story, then, especially since they've been hiring so many people, like great people like Ian Flynn to write the story, or Jun Otani is going to do some music for it, it doesn't really show that. So who knows? Again, that's first impressions. Maybe eventually my words may not mean anything, and it could turn out to be an amazing game, but so far I'm kind of underwhelmed. So, fingers crossed, hope for the best, but that's all I have to say so far.